Step 4 is to replace harmful fats with healthful fats. And so when we talk about fat, we want to focus, like with carbohydrates or like with protein, we want to focus on quality. We want to make whole plant foods the primary sources of our fat. High-fat plant foods are rich in all of the goodies that we were talking about, the fiber and antioxidants and sterols and stanols and phytochemicals, whereas concentrated fats and oils have a lot of calories with few nutrients. Okay, so again, it's like sugar. They're not poison, but they're processed foods. You've extracted them from the food, and you've left the fiber and the good stuff behind, just like you do with sugar. And so just to give you an example, this is sunflower seeds versus sunflower oil. So you can see the oil. So we're using 120 calories worth of oil, which is 1 tablespoon, and 120 calories worth of seeds, which is 2/3 of an ounce. Okay, so we're comparing equal calories from both. Fat, you get about 14 grams of fat in a tablespoon of the oil and about 11 from a tablespoon of the seeds. But look at the other macronutrients. No protein, no carbohydrate in the oil. You get about 4 grams of protein from the seeds. Look at the minerals. 0.00000 in the oil, and you get reasonable amounts from the seeds. And it's the same with vitamins. Now, vitamin E is the only exception. Oils often contain vitamin E, but there's more in the seeds. And then I didn't have room to list all of the other vitamins, but they're 0.00000 for the oil, and they're fairly high for the seeds. So you can see folic acid here as an example. So very, very important to be getting your calories from whole foods as opposed to highly processed foods. We want to cut back on saturated fat. The American Heart Association and the American College of Cardiology, in their guidelines for heart disease risk reduction, recommend no more than 5 to 6% of calories from saturated fat, which is about what most vegans get. So 5 to 6% of calories is about 16 grams on a 2,000 calorie diet. If you look at the amount in animal products, 2 slices of Meat Lover's Pizza, 22, 18 in a double cheeseburger, 16 in a soft taco with beef and cheese, 9 in an ounce of cheese, 8 in a cup of whole milk. That adds up to 16 pretty quickly when you're eating these kinds of foods. Whereas in plant foods, it's much lower amounts, with the exception of coconut products. But you can see avocado, nuts and seeds, tofu, olives are very, very low. You would have to eat a lot of them to get 16 grams of saturated fat. And then finally, we want to minimize our exposure to damaged fats. So these are highly oxidized fats. They produce aldehydes and acetylenes and all of these things that are toxic. So we want to avoid fried and highly processed foods. We want to avoid or minimize oils in cooking. And if you do use oils in your cooking, you don't want to let the oil smoke, because more of these compounds are formed. And you want to store high-fat foods carefully. So nuts and seeds are protected by a hard shell. When that hard shell is removed, the fats become subject to oxidation, especially if they're unsaturated, like walnuts. And so whenever I buy nuts and seeds, they go in the freezer immediately, the freezer or the refrigerator, to help protect the fats. And then you want to ensure sufficient omega-3 fatty acids. So for most people who don't eat fish, 2 to 4 grams a day would be a good amount to aim for. So how do we get that? Well, an ounce of walnuts, a tablespoon of ground flaxseed, a tablespoon of chia seeds or 2, probably about 3 tablespoons of hemp seeds, or about 20 to 40 cups of greens. So you can see greens could contribute if you're eating a lot of them, but you would have to eat like a horse or a cow to get 20 to 40 cups a day. So it's a lot. So you need to have some seeds or some nuts in the mix. At least it's very helpful. So what about EPA and DHA, these long-chain omega-3s from fish? Actually, fish don't make EPA and DHA. They're made by microalgae, and the microalgae is in plants in the ocean. and they get into fish because at some point along the food chain, the small fish ate the zooplankton, which ate the phytoplankton, which ate the microalgae. So that's how they get into fish. And so now people culture the microalgae, no raping of the oceans, just culture the microalgae, and you can purchase it in supplement form. And it's not a bad idea to take it. If you do, probably 200 to 300 milligrams a day is recommended. Some people may need more to get their omega-3s up to where they need to be.